All right, let's get started. So, welcome to the first verb repair workshop in the 10-part series. Today, we're going to be covering to be muh-khwan in the present tense. We'll just get started with the ground rules here for our first couple minutes as people log in because life happens. They might be a few minutes late. As ground rules, we want this to be a safe space. So, if you don't feel comfortable having your face shown online, you can turn your camera off. You can also put your name as initials if you want to, since this will be recorded and part of it will be put on the open internet. If you also don't feel like having your voice in this recording, feel free to share any questions that you have during the exercises in the chat. No worries. Going over our agenda here, we're going to be looking at this, but breaking it down into two pieces. The singular, so one person, I, he, she, you, masculine and feminine, because that's split into Tigrinya, and the plural, we, they, y'all, because that's also split into masculine and feminine for y'all and they. We'll have some examples, questions, exercises, and end with our study tips and next steps ideas. Last thing I want to say before we get into it is why is there a muh in front of this? In English, when we have an infinitive verb, a verb that hasn't had anything done to it, we say to be, to do, to eat, for example. But in Tigrinya and Amharic and some other languages, they put a muh in front of the verb to show that it hasn't had anything done to it yet. So in this case, muh-khwan, mugbar, mubila. If you see a muh in front, it's probably an infinitive, just so you're aware of that as we go through the workshop. It looks like no one is here yet, but I will assume that many of them are going to be from the US because that's a very large Habesha population, especially in the Washington, D.C. area, which is where I'm from. If you're not familiar with me, my name is Gabby from Tigrinlish. I'm not Habesha, but I've been learning Tigrinya since 2014 and teaching it since 2021. So we're looking at the singular one person. We're going to do first person, second person, and third person, and I'll explain what that means as we go. The first person is yourself. So I am. Ane iye. And you notice those three dots are at the end of the English, but in the middle of the Tigrinya, because the sentence order in Tigrinya is different. In English, we do subject, verb, object. But in Tigrinya, it's subject, object, verb. The verb goes at the end. Let's go to the second person. So the person you are talking to. You are, and this is split into masculine and feminine in Tigrinya. So we have for masculine, nisha iha, and the feminine, nishi ihi. Don't worry if you can't get it too throaty yet. Just focus on having it sound pretty similar. That KH is a bit harder because it's very much in your throat. Think of that name, Shah Rukh Khan, like the famous Bollywood actor. Now, the third person, the person that you and this other person are gossiping about, he, she, it is. It is also split into masculine and feminine, but we're not going to go into that right now so you don't get confused. We'll just do he and she. So he, nisu, iyu, and she, nisa, iya. You might see that the endings of the pronoun are matching the endings of the verb. So that's something to keep in mind to help you remember. It should rhyme. Now let's say these really quickly before we run out of time for this section. Ane iye. Nisha iha. Nishi ihi. Nisu iyu. Nisa iya. All right, and a few tips. You can actually say the sentence without including the pronoun. So you could say Tanye is still correct. Ane dehanie comes off a bit rougher because you're putting the emphasis like, I'm fine. So don't do that unless you meant to do that. As you can see on the screen, this is how everything is spelled in the Tigrinya Fidelat. So for those of you who are learning how to read, that's also good to know. We're going to get into exercises in a minute, so you can take your screenshots or take a picture with your phone if you want to be ready for the exercises. Let's move on to the exercises. From my book, Love Served with Injera. We're going to look at these two sentences where I have a word blocked off. So the first sentence, hi, my name is Binyam. In Tigrinya, salam, shime, Binyam, blank. What could that be from the options that we had on the other page? So the correct answer is EU. If you got it, great. If you didn't get it quite yet, don't worry. Mistakes are part of the learning process. So let's try again with the second one. I am 9 years old. In Tigrinya, ودي 9 عامات, another blank. Okay, so the correct answer is yeah. If you got it again, awesome. If you're still not quite there yet, don't worry. You'll get a recording of this as playback that you can watch again to refresh your memory. Now we're into the question section. When you make a mistake in Tigrinya, you usually get these reactions. An older person judging you, like, why didn't your parents teach you this? That's totally wrong. Or a kid laughing at you because your accent or sentence structure is off. Like we talked about, this is a safe zone. So if you have any questions, even after with the playback, feel free to let me know. I'm also looking for feedback, positive and negative, so we can make this experience better for everyone. So, safe space, no such thing as a dumb question. Just feel comfortable to ask whatever you need to ask. Because there's no one here yet, we'll go ahead and skip the 3 minutes I had planned for questions and move on to the plurals in a moment. We have first, second, and third person now, but plurals mean a group of people. So our first person is the group that we are part of. We are. نحن إنا. Now we're talking to a group of people, y'all, and that's split into masculine and feminine in Tigrinya. So masculine, نصحتكم إيهم, and feminine, نصحتكن إيهن. You might be gossiping about a group of people that aren't there, or hopefully not othering a group of people. That would be they, also split into masculine, feminine, are. So the masculine, نساتهم إيهم, and the feminine, نساتهن إيهن. So now I want you to make me a kulaso. What am I talking about? A kulaso is the Tigrinya word for gursha. So if you're new here, a gursha is when you put injera and you put some other meat and some other things in it and you feed it to somebody else. So in this case, I want you to build me a sentence based on what we just learned. Take those 15 seconds to try and make your own sentence. If you're watching the replay, you can put it in the comments or send me a message if you have my WhatsApp number. So now that you're used to asking questions, hope you feel more confident like this. Just like the girl in the picture, you're feeling like, yeah, I can get the hang of this. This isn't so bad. Or you might even get a reaction from an older Habasha is like, huh, it's pretty cool that you know that. Nice work. They won't say so, but you will see it on their face. To recap our agenda, we set the ground rules to respect everyone's privacy. We had examples for the singular, and then we tried to make a sentence in the plural. We would allow time for questions when we have a live audience. Now let's talk about the study tips and next steps. So for those of you who are current students or signed up to get the replay of this, you'll get the raw replay this evening and then have access to the edited replay by the end of next week. If you're trying to get better at this verb, you saw there's a lot more options with Tigrinya than in English. In English, we just have am, is, are. In Tigrinya, it's way more than that. So how do you start? I would personally suggest focusing on the first person first. So you have I and we first, because that's mostly what people are asking you. How are you? How's your family? Say, I'm fine, we're fine. Then if you're feeling more adventurous, you can get into the second person where you ask them back, how are you? How are y'all doing? You can always get around the third person, he, she, they, by saying everything is fine. Because that's technically it, because you don't have to learn he, she, they, just it. That makes life a little bit easier. But yeah, start with I and we, work your way up to you and y'all, and then if you're feeling more comfortable, try it, jump into he, she, and then last they, because that's the one that's usually the hardest to remember. The best way to use this is to learn it in context, which you can with my level 1 diaspora survival kit. It gives you phrases that you can use in real life, especially for salamtas, for greetings. That's the most awkward 1 minute at any party. Hey, how are you? Yeah, we're fine. Everything good? If you don't know what to say back, it can get awkward for the rest of the night. So that wraps us up, and we'll see you in the next one. Brak maalti.